Good evening, everyone. And we are starting the last leg of today's conference day. And it's been a very wonderful to be here listening to previous panel discussions and informative presentations. And right now, I would say that we have already covered the generation technologies, energy storage, transportation. And this session is kind of an intersection between all this innovation, sustainable manufacturing technologies, and urban skylines. We all know that as India is growing and with rapid development, we are moving from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 cities. And lot of urbanization is happening, lot of new buildings are coming, energy consumption is growing. If we talk about even the commercial buildings like data centers, they are kind of a guzzlers of energy in the coming time. And with all this background, having the sustainability as a focus is very, very important. Looking at the larger picture, as we all know that India has a mandate or India has taken a target of net zero by 2070. Although it looks far away, there are a lot of things to be done. We earlier talked about the share of renewable energy on India's grid. You may be aware that India already has a 98 gigawatt of solar installation, more than 48 gigawatt of wind is already on the grid. And in terms of installed capacity, we are at around 35% of installed capacity for renewable energy. If we all add hydro, it is 45%. But if we look at the energy percentage, we have not yet crossed the 15%. So we have a lot to cover in terms of around 50% of installed capacity to the 50% of energy. Now, a lot of corporates have this internal mandate of sustainability. They have their internal targets of moving towards RE100, net zero by 2030 or 2035. When we, as a customized energy solutions, work with a lot of commercial and industrial consumers and helping them with the renewable energy transition, there are a lot of things which decide which path they can take. Because even with the renewable energy options, there are a lot of options right from the on-site rooftop solar, where they can go with the CAPEX model versus OPEX model. They can look at the net metering versus behind the meter. But it depends again on the how much percentage of your energy can be fulfilled by the on-site renewable energy plant. And then the next option is open access. With open access, again, in India, there are different rules and regulations with every state. So there as well, it is very important to understand the policies and plan the sizing of your renewable sources as per your consumption pattern. At the same time, how the billing and settlement works with different states. Now, this is about renewable energy, but today's topic is about green building, and we have amazing panel to share more insights. And when we talk about green buildings, it is not just a renewable energy which comes at the end of it, but starting from the planning side of the renewable energy. I think the previous presentation is a right start for this panel. So it is important to have environment-friendly building material that starts at the design step. Energy efficiency, it's something very important. What kind of equipments you have installed in the building, and how the HVAC systems are designed. Then indoor air quality, water efficiency, water recycling, waste reduction, and even the control systems in the building. So everything is very important when we look at the big picture of green building concept. Now, without taking more time, I would like to invite our first panelist. I would like to invite Mr. Karthikeyan, Deputy Executive Director of CII IGBC. Mr. Karthikeyan, you have extensive experience in promoting sustainability and green building practices, and your work focuses on fostering the adoption of green building standards across India, driving initiatives with that empower sustainable construction and environmental responsibility.
Yes.
So over to you. Just tell us more about the concept of green building so that everybody is aware.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You have already given an overview of what is happening with respect to green building. I will just give you some kind of trends with respect to this building. We started the green building movement way back in the year 2001 by constructing our own green business center, our office in Hyderabad. That is the first green building which was inaugurated by our former president, Dr. Abdul Kalam. The entire green building movement started from there, and we started facilitating variety of buildings to go green, whether it is a new building, commercial, residential, or even factory building, or even infrastructure projects like airports, metros. We started working with even railway stations to go green. It is all about the concept. What is this concept? Yes, a building when it is getting constructed, number one, it has to be a resource efficient. When I say resource efficient, it should consume less of energy, water, consume less of material, ultimately lead to a lower environmental impact from the building point of view. The second, it should also provide a kind of comfortable, healthy built environment for the occupant, because ultimately it is a people-centric building. So this movement has picked up a lot, and as on date, we talk about close to say 13,000 15,000 buildings going green with more than about 13 billion square feet, which is supposed to be the second largest footprint in the world as of now. So this has created a significant impact in terms of reducing the overall resource consumption in the building. Now from green building, we are also going one step further. Of course, in this process, the building also encouraged a lot in terms of how we can make use of the renewable energy sources, recycled materials, whatever you spoke in terms of resource efficiency has been addressed. Now we are going one step further in terms of moving towards a kind of net zero building. So when we say net zero building, to what extent it is net zero? From a net zero building point of view, we devised a concept in terms of going a kind of a step-by-step approach in achieving ultimately a net zero carbon building. So we started with the net zero energy, net zero water, net zero waste to landfill, and ultimately net zero carbon, because these three steps will obviously contribute to the net zero carbon. So from net zero carbon point of view, I would like to highlight only two aspects. Of course, the earlier presentation from Dr. Radhakrishnan, he talked about a lot in terms of how the embodied carbon can be reduced by recycling, going for construction and demolition waste-based product, etc. So the net zero carbon talks about how you are going to address the carbon footprint that goes as part of the building during the design and construction stage. And second, the carbon emissions during the operation stage. You consider the operation for about say 60 years of life, the entire life will contribute to the emission, isn't it? So how are you going to make it zero? So these are the two aspects have been looked at in terms of making buildings net zero carbon as well. Now the organizations having committed to achieve net zero, they are working on in making their buildings also net zero. There are a lot of challenges as well as opportunities, but one point I would like to highlight here, during the last presentation also this point had come up, okay, what is the impact on the cost? Many a times when we all talk about going green and going low carbon materials, people are more concerned about the cost. So whenever there is a problem with the cost, we have the tendency to look at the life cycle cost. But what we are saying is, yes, if you start looking at reducing the carbon footprint, obviously you will start working on reducing your resource consumption during the production process. Isn't it? So when you are reducing your resource consumption during the production process, obviously you are reducing the cost of production itself. So the final product cost is obviously lower than a conventional product which has been produced in a conventional way. But there are various reasons why it has not been priced lower compared to the conventional product, because the market mechanism drives the price, isn't it? But the cost of production for the product is lower, but the market at some point in time when the demand becomes much higher, the cost also will come down. But we have sufficient case studies. When you start working on reducing the carbon footprint of a building, obviously you would be able to reduce the cost of construction as well as the cost of operation. The point what I am trying to emphasize here is, yes, going towards a low carbon building or going towards a net zero building, it makes lot of sense with respect to the economics of it. It makes business sense. You will be able to reduce the cost significantly. So I would like to stop here and then take it forward as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you. You focused very much about the carbon footprint and how exactly it is a cost efficient, because generally people when talk about the certification or any kind of such initiatives, the first thing is what is or how it is going to cost me. But instead of that, looking at the complete cycle life kind of a approach would definitely help, and we will come back to that.
Sure.
What are the challenges and
I
the
can give
long-term
you a
benefits?
number of examples in this, ma'am, how we are going to reduce the cost.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure. So we can move to the next speaker, Mr. Sudhalai, who is Senior General Manager ESG and Sustainability at CBRE India. Mr. Sudhalai, you have 35 years of experience in industrial and facility management services, and you specialize in ESG projects, sustainability audits, decarbonization, and renewable energy solutions. You are expert in green energy, green building certification, including IGBC. So over to you about your thoughts on green building and renewable energy sourcing, especially.
So when we talk about the almost all the corporate and developers are in commercial building point of view. When you, am I audible? Yeah. When we talk about the green energy, almost all the in commercial sector, all the developers and corporate companies are engaged towards the net zero carbon. So net zero, to implement the net zero carbon, again, RE power is one of the option. Multiple option is there, RE power is the one of the option. So when we talk about the RE power, again, RE power is the emerging marketing in India as well as global. Now we are having huge potential. Number one, it is win-to-win situation for all. It's for company, it's for environmental, it's for national to reduce the forex. So in talk about the green building, it consists of broader section is two. One is on-site, another one is off-site. Okay, on-site we can implement at site. Again, it consists of two models. One is capex model, another one is opex model. If you are doing the capex model, the building owner can invest the money at their own campus for RE sourcing and avail this power. If you go for OPEX model, third-party investor will invest the money and supply the energy. Okay, this is the simplest option, but again, it cater only 3 to 7% of the overall energy consumption. So again, 90 to 95% of the green energy we have to source from remote off-site only. Okay, when we talk about the off-site, again, 5 different models are available in this market. Okay, first one is green tariff. That is, there is no capital investment for this model. Grid supplier, who is supplying the green energy, brown energy to the company, they will provide the green energy at premium cost. That cost will be little higher than what you purchase the cost. That is the first option. Second option, this is actually, there is no investment. You have to pay, but more than what you are paying right now. That is the option one. Second option is open access model. Open access model is, we can purchase the energy through the third party via power purchase agreement. This is the open access. Again, it broadly classified into 2 models. One is third party power purchase. Second one is group captive mode. Again, if you talk about third party mode, no investment. We can purchase to the RE supplier through the grid line here, but cost. What Karthikeyan said, cost is the deciding factor for green energy. So when you talk about the cost savings, third party is sometimes based on the state rules and regulations, because actually state regulatory body embedded multiple component in the billing part itself. Something wheeling charges, cross subsidy charges, and the banking charges. So each and every component state to state vary, but again, it will add the RE supplier cost. So some said it is benefit, some said it is not benefit, but you will get green energy, clean energy. But here, one of the good thing is actually there is no legal binding or something. So this is the easiest option and the short-term option. When we talk about the open access second mode, again, 2 modes is there. One is captive mode, another one is group captive mode. Suppose if you are go for captive mode, the owner or base builder should invest their money for the building 100% investment, equity investment in this plant, and they can get the power through the grid mode. That is the one option. Second one is group captive mode. Group captive mode means multiple companies has forming and put together, they are construct the RE power plant through the third party developer. So here group captive investment is actually for the utilizing company is 30%, rest 70% is invested by the developer. But one here actually this is the agreement period is long term, and again some legal binding, because actually it's a multiple people involving. We have to put the agreement with the developer to invest the money. So some legal binding, other process is there. But cost, when you compare the cost with other model, that is cheaper and you will get the green energy. But the contract period is very long. This is the second option. Again, third option is we can purchase the power through power exchange also. In India, two different power exchanges are IEX and PXIL. So we can purchase the green power through the power exchange also. That is also available. So here either before one day or same day we can purchase in the 96 lots. That is another option. And the final option is, so all the options are what I mentioned, all the options are physical power supply to the site. So final option, suppose if you are not able to fulfill all these requirements, means we are having another two options. That is actually virtual power agreement and REC. So virtual power agreement is that is the latest development. Here actually RE power plant captive generator has put the agreement with the consumer. So RE power supplier will supply the brown energy, will supply the energy to the market, physical energy to the market, and to sell the carbon credit to the agreement holder. Okay, so here we can get the credit, carbon credit only, not power. This is one of the option. Here advantage is we can fix the quantum and we can get the power from the RE supplier. Another one option is there, this is the final option. So suppose if we don't want meet anything is, whenever we need, what are the quantum is required, what are the things needs to be offset, that quantum we can purchase through the exchange, whether it is internationally or India. India again, IEX, the forum. So we can purchase through them also, we can purchase. Here 100 units of energy they are putting as the 1 unit. So we can purchase to offset our requirement, we can purchase through this platform also. These are the options for green energy in India.
Thank you. Yeah, and as you rightly said that IEX is now a lot of solar energy is getting sold on IEX, and we can clearly see the solar energy, more and more injection of solar energy, because as per the market demand supply curve, on weekends the solar energy rate on IEX is as low as 1 rupees, and we will very soon see that even the TOD brackets of energy tariff for different utilities will be different. Earlier utilities used to give incentives during night hours to shift your consumption to night hours. You will see that in Maharashtra the new tariff regime has given the 2 rupees incentive during the daytime, 9 to 5 p.m. So that is the impact of higher and higher renewables on the India's grid. Now we can go to the next speaker, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Rao, ESG General Manager, Brigade Group. And as we all know that Brigade Group is one of the well-known real estate and property development companies headquartered in Bangalore. And I understand Brigade is working towards achieving net zero status by 2045. And you also have offices achieving prestigious gold and platinum LEED and IGBC ratings, setting the standards for sustainable and premium workplaces. Over to you, how the real estate developer is looking at all this development around green buildings.
Yeah, thank you very much. So in line with my co-speakers, I would like to highlight the practical approach, how it is being done. Now, what my co-speaker spoke about was the renewable energy part, how the various modes are there to power purchase or to green tariff or captive power generations. But the basic question which arises here is, when you build, whether commercial or residential apartment, the energy consumption pattern, how would you reduce? First of all, how do you bring out efficiency or reduce your energy consumption? So that's the first thing. Now, all the other alternatives which they have spoken about is a later stage. How do you offset and see that, what is the gap between how much of carbon emissions which you have already done, how do you offset those carbon emissions? So when we have to look at bringing about energy efficiency, first thing is about the entire structure. when we say the envelope of the building, right? So we look at how is the envelope designed, right? And in terms of the energy modeling which we do, then of course we do it along with our consultant and we take their advices. We need to understand how we are taking up the total loading pattern in terms of the equipment which is being utilized, how much is the lighting which is goes about in the construction. Like for example, today we are in this particular venue where we have the several lights here. Now, so how much of energy which has been consumed here? It's an important question, right? So when we see the total demand, how much is your total consumption? Then we say, okay, what is that we are going to do as a on-site renewable energy implementation? Then when we say, look at, okay, what is the gap? Now, when we have done some on-site, still there is some amount of carbon emission which is still left out. So how do we offset those? So we look at then off-site doing it. So these are the things which has to be practically looked into when we are looking at from developer's side, right? And then second part of what Mr. Karthikeyan was mentioning about the other aspects of the waste management, which Mr. Radhakrishna had rightly pointed out. There are a lot of carbon emissions which is happening, right? When we are looking at crushing of materials, he very nicely has put in about using solar power, but when we look at practically on site, we do it in a very different way. We actually use crushers to see that we segregate the aggregate materials and then we use those aggregate back into our construction. Now that requires again huge amount of energy. Now these are the practical issues which we have to understand, and then we need to see that we take care of that. But good part of that is that at least the amount of waste which is going to the landfill is avoided. See, there are plus and minus point both the ways. If we are looking at the energy part of it, we also need to look at how much we are saving on not sending any materials or debris to the landfill. Okay? So that much of amount of the aggregates which we are reusing in construction is saving the crushing cost which we would have other taken up when we had actually done the crushing and we would have got the aggregates out of it. So these are the things. Then coming to one of the points which we have to also look at is something to do with water management, right? Most of the developers and builders will also have net zero in terms of being energy, waste, and water being water positive also. Now, when we say net carbon, right, net zero carbon, we have to encounter all the aspects of things. So this is also a very important point of it. Now, classic examples, airport, when we say look at the international airport, huge amount of traffic is there, and then yet their BAIL is net water positive, right? So something like that inspires the builders and developers to look into a different way, a different thinking. How can we do it? So there are ways and means of, say, reducing our carbon footprints in our construction process itself, because we have to look at three aspects. One is the building design, construction, and then finally operations. So when we look at the construction part of things, we look at alternative materials. We also look at the footprint of water footprint in terms of, can we use a curing compound to reduce our, water consumption? Can we look at STP water to use for non-structural element purposes, because structural element we cannot use for curing purposes. So can we use for non-structural purposes? So like that, we have various things which we are actually practically looking at. So these are the things which a builder is going through, and I'm sure that as it is said that small drops of water makes a mighty ocean. So definitely we will be able to contribute towards the net zero holistically. No, it's just not restricted to one part of energy. It has to be taken into energy, waste, water, and many other things, right? So.
Thanks. And it is very important to have that holistic approach to the overall concept of green building, right from the design, construction to operations. And in last 15 years, we see a lot of those good-looking glass buildings, commercial buildings, and they were looking really nice from outside. But we it is always, we wonder that what is the operational cost of that building? It is good that the entire industry is moving towards a sustainable building approach now. Now, moving on, I would like to invite Ms. Sakhi Chandrayan, founder and president of INBAC Association. Sakhi, you have over 2 decades of industrial experience with global teams like Siemens, You are a passionate advocate for simple buildings, and you are a champion in designing, prioritizing ease of use, maintenance, safety, and advanced data analytics. So over to you about the role of this building automation and sustainable technologies in this concept.
Thanks, Netra. So, my very senior and experienced friends here have spoken about a lot of requirements in the building. Why is building so important when it comes to ground zero of net zero? Is because buildings consume more than 30% of energy. And when it comes to greenhouse gas emission, they emit more than 26% of total GSG. It immediately makes it very important to speak about the sustainability in the building. So when it comes to sustainability, it is also important to create it as well as maintain the sustainability. Now, you have seen all of my friends have spoken about the requirements in a building right from rooftop to basement. So what is rooftop? It is solar. What is in the basement? It is PHEV, so EV chargers these days, isn't it? We have also spoken about a lot of cross-section, which we can put it as Vari, Vayu, Vyom, Vanhi, which is air, environment, fire, and the cooling that we use. All this putting together, how do we sustain the sustainability, or how do we keep any kind of sustainability? It takes two very important parts. One is intent, and second is measurement. We have to bring the right technologies to the forefront to maintain the buildings and keep it operationally well. So the moment we are done with the building, we have to keep on measuring its performance in with respect to the material which has been used in that building. Now, if we do not measure it, we wouldn't have known that glass buildings are not something that we should build for. So collecting that kind of data, churning the data, and making that data useful for the next part of decision is extremely important. It is important to understand in any building what is the digital infrastructure and what is the resilience of the digital infrastructure. On this note, I will hand it over to you so that we can go to the questions.
Thanks, Sakhi. Yes, sir.
So I would like to pitch in here. See, when she touched upon a very important part, that is GHG emissions, right? So when we look at GHG emissions in every facet of the construction as well as the operations of the building. Now we look at the calculation of this and also the data measurement. When GHG is measured with respect to the construction aspect of things, that has to be also offset. It is not necessary that we have to look only for the operations part or when the design part. We also need to look at the construction part of GHG very importantly to be offsetted, which plays a very important role. Now we have two aspects which she was also mentioning about the data measurement, right? So we have the capabilities today with AI and ML integration. We can actually look at how the industry is going towards measuring these GHG emissions, right? So and then we can actually count on seeing, okay, today this developer has done so much of emissions and how does he measure in himself, and then what are the counteractive measures he has taken. So that is also available through AI and ML integrations. So today technology has gone so way ahead so far that we are able to track our emissions at every point. So this is something which I feel has to be taken over from all the part of the things, right, including waste, water, energy, and every sector of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I would like to add one part to it. So when we talk about technology, it is not only about controlling and measurement. It is not only about the data collection and data churning and coming up with the AI ML results. It is more than that. It is about creating impact. So technology also allows you to showcase what you have done. In the morning, the professor set up the scary picture that we have in front of us. If we start showing what we are saving, so there is consumption and there is conservation. So when we do the conservation, if we start showing it to the people who are part of it, I think we can spread this message. Because we discuss all these things in the intellectual groups like this, and we go home and set up our AC at the temperature of 15, which is just not done. We waste a lot of food. which is just not done. So we have to take this message beyond this room, and I think we can do this with technology a lot.
Very well said. Yeah. So awareness, creating awareness is one of the very important aspects of overall journey, not just for the buildings, but for everyone who is sitting in this auditorium. Now coming to IGBC's role, so energy conservation, green buildings, different certifications. I know you have been proactive in promoting all these concepts and creating this awareness. So what do you see as are the challenges that these companies are coming back, or how do you see the response of green building certification by the different corporates?
Challenges are manifold. Let me put a number and then let us look at it. If you look at the kind of penetration in the last 20 years the green buildings have done, is hardly about less than 5% of the total building footprint. That itself shows that a lot more need to be done. More than 95% of the building, they may not have implemented any of these green measures or the low carbon measures. What are the reasons? Number one, obviously, in terms of awareness. Awareness is a major challenge, in spite of the fact that we have been working on this for more than 2 decades. That is something we need to agree on. The second aspect is, even after awareness, though there are a lot of environment enthusiasts, everybody looks at in terms of, okay, if I have to go green, what is in it for me? Isn't it? So I don't go green just for the sake of somewhere some ice is melting, or I need to do something good for the country because the Prime Minister has committed net zero by 2017. No, everybody ultimately looks at, what is the cost economics of the measure I am going to implement. So at the moment it boils down to the economics, there are a lot of challenges that comes in. Okay, so each and every measure I am going to look at, in spite of the fact that I am an environment enthusiast, I am also looking at in terms of what is the cost benefit analysis of this. Okay, so these two need to be addressed, number one. The second thing is, in my opinion, there are a lot of enablers that need to be there in terms of the policies and regulations that are really missing. The government also need to, when I say government, it is not only about the central or the state government. There are some policies and regulations which helps us to move in this direction. But a lot of things need to be done at the local government also. So that is something is completely missing. For an example, suppose if you take a city down south, what is that city administration is doing with respect to making the buildings green? That is the question we all need to address, and then probably enable everybody to. I'm not worried about the certification. Keep the certification secondary. Certification is all about a tool. What is more important is I need to embrace those green measures as part of my building. Whether I live in a home or operate a small office, it doesn't matter. I need to implement those green measures. That is what is more important. Thank you.
Sure, and as you rightly said that cost benefit analysis is very important. Although all the corporates talk about their sustainability goals, when it comes to decision, even procuring the renewable energy, how many rupees per unit I am going to save, how many paisa per unit is, that everything matters while they're taking the decision. So absolutely right. And with all these initiatives, there are some tangible benefits and there are some intangible benefits as well.
Yeah.
Right? With the right air quality in your building, the people who are working inside the building will feel better, they stay healthy, they save on their medical costs. So there are a lot of intangible benefits as well. So Mr. Sudelai, do you want to add anything on that about any challenges that you face from your tenants? You bring even the global real estate service companies experience.
Yeah. So a lot of support and opportunities are there.
Is it working?
Yeah, opportunities also is there, but challenges also is there. First thing, actually green power, when we talk about the green power, it is again depends upon it's a multiple stakeholders is there. So if there's single window for RE power, that is very, very great help, even whether it is cost benefit or not, but policy should be in transparent and without interpret anything. If it's a single window policy will support lot for renewable energy front. Again, some more support also required. For an example, when we are talking about the building energy conservation or carbon reduction, some area we need the retrofit and other things also. When we do the retrofit, again, still people are looking what is the ROI instead of they should look for the life cycle benefit, but unfortunately they are looking the ROI only. In this case, they can provide or very low interest free loan or something if we are able to provide, and technology awareness also. Governments, at least some governance part, government should implement certain things year on year, because still all the things are in voluntary for commercial building. Suppose government puts certain things are in mandatory year on year, you have to showcase your reduction and all the things, plan, roadmap, everything, suppose all in the place, definitely we will achieve our target in very short duration instead of 2070.
Sure. Coming to real estate developer perspective, I understand that there is a higher brand value that comes with this green building concept, and even the asset value is higher. So how do you see the response of your large corporate clients for having the first of all the green building in place, and how do you see their behavior changing towards the asset value that you give to them?
Yeah, when we look at commercial building, when we say to a client that it is LEED Platinum certified, most of the building are Gold and Platinum certified. Some of the corporates, they want to live or rather occupy a building with such kind of a certification. Now, because most of the corporate are aware of what is the advantage of staying with a certified building, right? In terms of savings and the operational efficiencies which it brings about. Now, more than that, when we look at something beyond this, right now, what we are talking about is net zero, right? So this is something going beyond the certification part. Today, we are talking about how much reduction happens in the carbon emissions. So that is even more attractive for any of the investors. Today, if you look at any of the finance investing companies would invest into a organization which is going green, and having net zero as its targets. So that is even more lucrative from the client's perspective.
Thanks. Maybe we can take just a last point, that in the interest of this audience where a lot of young people are sitting, how do you see the opportunities, Sakhi, for contributing in this sector? What are the gaps, the skill development requirements, and how everyone sitting here can contribute to the sector?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to talk about challenges, but I just thought in my mind that we are sitting in IIT and it is just imperative that we talk about the opportunities. The building sector has a real deficit of technology. Good technology, a technology which is based on open communication protocols, so that heterogeneous systems can speak to each other, exchange the data as required, and give a complete or total building comprehension. So there is a lot of opportunity in various areas, including say solar, waste management, water management, IEQ, even on the city green infrastructure level, IAQ, and so on. So even at the EV level. So irrigation systems also use many building automation technologies. So there is a huge opportunity.
Thanks. That brings us to the end of this conversation. Overall, we are going towards in the right direction. I would say a lot of things are being done, a lot of things to achieve. But thank you very much for all my panelists for insightful discussion and your inputs. And thanks everyone for listening in. Hope we have added some more insightful thoughts in today's discussion for this conference.